Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Age Gap Love Story. We are on episode 34. And today we're going to be talking about how to make friends when you're in an age gap relationship. And this topic really came out of someone asking about it in our Facebook group. So that's kind of cool. We love being able to answer questions and offer resources and support for other age gap couples and, stuff that you guys run into. We want to try to help as much as we can. What is that? A heart?
It's hard.
Oh, I think it's easier if we do it this way.
Whatever.
Anyways, so whether you're new or
Old.
it can be hard to make new friends, and we understand that. And I think it also depends on your personality type and whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and maybe if you work or you work from home or you have hobbies, that kind of stuff. It all really plays into the whole situation of how easy or hard it is to meet new people. And I think maybe being in an age gap relationship can just make it that
Harder.
much harder. Yeah, because there are some issues that come up that we're going to talk about. And then we also have some tips. So we're going to talk about some issues with making new friends in general, some problems that you might run into if you're in an age gap relationship. And then we have some, we want to share some of our experience, and then we're going to share some tips. So we really hope this episode is helpful. And we also hope that you'll subscribe and connect with us on this channel, and then maybe either in our Facebook group or on our Instagram. And it's all under Age Gap Love Story. So, do you want to jump into maybe some issues with making new friends in general?
Well, I think depending upon your personality, it can be very difficult, as Carrie said a moment ago, to make friends. We have a couple who are friends of ours that are very extroverted, and particularly the husband, Scotty. This guy will talk to a tree, a fire hydrant, a monkey. He'll talk to anybody, and he has such a warm, endearing personality. People engage with him. However, not all of us have that talent, and I think it is a talent. And as Carrie said a moment ago, in an age gap relationship, if you're a couple, it can be often difficult for a number of reasons.
Right. But just getting into how it's hard to make new friends in general, I think it is harder when it's so easy when you're in school because you're surrounded by your, people your own age all the time, and just people who are kind of in your same situation, or even if you're working, you're
Right.
just around people all the time.
And you have something in common with them. And I think that's a key to making friends is if you have a particular commonality, whether it's being in school, being in a religious group, being in a dance class, whatever the case may be, even living in the same apartment building often will give you a commonality. So, and if you don't have that, then you have to create it. It goes back to something I've said it in previous episodes where if you don't like your environment, you have to change it to the extent that you can. And that takes an effort, and you have to make the effort to make the change.
And I think also as you get older, it does make it a little bit harder to make new friends because, like, let's be real, when you get older, you do start to become set in your ways, whether it's just your personal beliefs or your routine or, your responsibilities make you so you're not necessarily able to just go out every day, all day, or whatever. But it's true. And then also, it's a reality that as people get older and then maybe you start to have kids, then your whole life is going to change. In some ways, that might make it easier to make new friends because then you're going to have meet other parents. But it also makes it harder because you have more responsibilities.
I think we did a previous episode on how to meet people, partners, dating, and we talked about things like joining dance classes, yoga classes, exercise groups. Are you inclined to have a connection to a church? There are social activities through churches. So there are a lot of ways you can get exposure to other people where there is that degree of commonality.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So following the outline,
I don't
is
follow the outline. They get in trouble all the time.
so now I thought we would talk about just some of the problems with making friends when you're specifically in an age gap relationship, some of the issues that are kind of specific to couples in our situation.
Yes, may I
Um,
speak first?
yeah.
One that I have, or that we have personally encountered, is that if there are couples that are my age, for example, friends that I had in my earlier life, that oftentimes when you have an age gap relationship, that it becomes uncomfortable for the other couple. And I have to say this from my experience, it may not always be the case, but it's usually with the wife, the older wife, who becomes a little, um, shall we say, annoyed because you have, forgive the expression, but dumped your existing older wife for a younger woman. And that does create friction in older married
But
couples.
not always.
Not always, but often.
I don't know if
And
often is fair.
well, I had experienced it more than once. So I have to use that as an example. And occasionally it can be the husband, but it's usually the wife. So that can be a difficulty. And it just depends upon the couple and how they feel about being friends or continuing a relationship once the older person's first married uh, connection is gone, and then there's a new one in the picture. Sometimes it doesn't work. So often you have to start from scratch. And if you do so, you can usually tell whether the couple that you have become friends with is accepting and feels comfortable with an age gap relationship. And then you move forward from there.
Yeah, I mean the truth is, um, a lot of people are biased against unconventional relationships, whether it's being in a gay relationship or biracial or an age gap. It's still considered an unconventional type of relationship, and let's say, I don't know, regular quote unquote couples may be uncomfortable with that. So that is an issue that you can encounter. I have noticed with some of my friends, more so when Alan and I were first getting together. So this is over 20 years ago when I was in my early 20s. I noticed that some of my friends, it's especially seemed like the ones who maybe didn't have a great relationship with their dad, or they were annoyed by their dad. They didn't want to hang out with Alan and me because they just kind of put Alan in that category of being like a dad figure, as opposed to looking at Alan as, a person to get to know and and that kind of thing.
Party.
So, and I think it can be the opposite as well, where an like say one of Alan's friends may not want to hang out with me because they see me as like in a category of their kid, or just a younger person who they find annoying or who they don't
But we
understand.
haven't encountered that. Did you say?
No, I definitely think we've encountered
You think
that.
so? I don't think so. But anyway, another point that I wanted to make is that with Carrie's friends, if they are Carrie's age, when we first became a couple, they're on their way usually to building a family. And as soon as they have a child, and rightfully so, all their attention, effort, and activities focus on that child. And it makes it very awkward because we don't have children from our marriage, young children. So it does make it difficult. And usually that will be the end of that relationship with that friend. Another aspect on the younger side is that a lot of Carrie's friends, if they are single, sort of the opposite of the married with child situation, is that they want to go out and party. They want to go to bars. They want to have fun. They're up late. And fortunately, one of the reasons Carrie and I get along so well is that isn't Carrie's temperament. She enjoys being at home, early evenings, not going out to bars and that type of activity. So it puts her at odds with a lot of our younger friends who, after college, are sort of in that mode.
Yeah, but I think our situation is different now because we've been together so long and now we're both considered, middle aged. But when we were first dating, yeah, and I was in my early 20s in graduate school and stuff like that, I would say not often, but I would go out with friends and you would stay at home. And I mean, that did cause a little tension because Alan would be, remember one time I had a party and I didn't invite you? And yeah, so I mean, you can see how things have changed a lot as I mean, we're just an old married couple at this point. But you can see how when we first got together, how those could be pretty big issues. And
And I didn't throw a tantrum when
no,
that would occur, because I appreciated that you had different issues with your friends, different interests, and that eventually things would sort of change, which they did and develop.
well,
And
and also if I had wanted that lifestyle, then I wouldn't have been looking to settle down, so to speak, and it wouldn't have worked out, truthfully. I mean, if I had really wanted to go out every night or every weekend, which, I did a lot of that before I met Alan. And I essentially got tired of, just dating or going to bars. And that's when I started looking for a more serious relationship. And I think, yeah, so it just kind of depends on where you are in your relationship. If you are watching this and you're the younger partner and you feel like really deprived because you can't go out and you just want to hang out with friends, quite frankly, you're not ready to be in a serious relationship.
right, and I believe we discussed this in previous episodes, but I made it clear when I started dating Carrie that I was looking for a serious relationship, and that was, I think I made that known early on as we became even slightly interested in a more serious relationship. I made it quite clear. And if Carrie hadn't been interested, that would have been the time, I think, that we would have pulled the plug.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of applies to all couples. If one person wants to go out and the other wants to be in a serious relationship, um, then that's going to be a problem. I think also problems with making friends when you're in an age gap relationship, there can just be a mismatch in what the couples, or like if you're trying to make other couple friends, there could be a mismatch on what you want to do, where another couple might want to go out to a bar and the age gap relationship couple wants to go out. Like for us, we at this point we usually like to go out for lunch because we are early birds, so we don't really want to be out late for dinner and stuff.
Right. And let me emphasize that.
You can stand up
Can I stand a little closer?
closer.
Why, thank you. He's the director. Uh, I want to make it very clear that if you have a difference, such as the one we're discussing, where you have different attitudes about going out as opposed to being at home, or any other major differences, don't count on time as a way to resolve those issues, because usually that doesn't happen. They only grow worse. So if you can't resolve them in the early stages of a relationship, don't don't go forward. There was an old movie with Alec Guinness. I think it was called Captain's Paradise, made back in the 1950s, where he is a ferry boat captain between Gibraltar, which was an English, or is an English colony or territory, and Spain. It would go back and forth. I believe it was Spain. And he was married to two women. And the woman in Gibraltar was a very mature housewife, sewing machine, pipe and slippers when he arrived type wife. And then the wife that he had in Spain, who I think the role was played by Yvonne De Carlo, who was a really hot tomato in those days. And he'd get there, when he'd go out and they'd party and they'd dance and they'd have dinner, and he would wear a very flamboyant outfit and flashy clothes. And then when he'd go back to take the ferry, when he'd take people back to Gibraltar, he would settle down, very conservative. And then what happened was the wife on Gibraltar decided that she wanted to have a more wild, active nightlife. And the gal in Spain, she wanted to settle down and start cooking and sewing. And so the roles reversed. Anyway, it was a really cute movie. But that doesn't happen in life. I mean, people normally don't change course, bang. Doesn't happen.
Okay. And I think Alan's story actually illustrates a really good point in that not so much the story, but Alan telling the story. And like if we were to go out with some of my friends in their, well, I'm in my 40s now, but back in the day when I was in my 20s and Alan starts talking about movies made in the 40s, it's like, it's just like whoosh, it goes over their head. It's just not like there's not a connection. So that can also be an issue in that there's an inability for couples to communicate um, due to these generational differences. And if if we went out with people or saw friends of mine who didn't like Alan or were annoyed by Alan, um, it did hurt the relationship. That's just the truth. And that's again, if you're in any kind of relationship and you're trying to make friends and your friends don't like your partner, it's hard to be friends with them because you love your partner, but they don't even like them. Either you have a choice, you're just gonna spend time with them one on one, or you're gonna have to stop being friends. So that's kind of that can be a problem.
So we didn't really lose any friends because of our
I
relationship.
think I don't. I mean, if they're my true friends, it just it's like when we started meeting new people. I would say like through into my 30s and stuff as we moved and we got settled in a new community. I think if we would hang out with people as a couple and it didn't work, the relationship wouldn't grow. It kind of there has to be a synergy. I mean, just like Alan mentioned, our friend Scott, and he is married to our other friend Janet, and we just get along really well as two couples, and we all get along, and so it just makes it so much
Yes,
easier.
and one thing we love about them, and I would urge you to associate with couples that are like this, whether you're in an age gap relationship or not, is that Scott and Janet don't fight with one another. We've had friends from the past, before we became a couple, that used to argue and fight, and they stayed together, but it was really an issue to go out with them because it was unpleasant. We felt badly for them, and it sort of cast a pall on the time we would spend with them. So if you're going to have close friends, either bringing them from previous to your age gap relationship or new ones, and they don't get along well, that's not a good influence on you, and you really should maybe move away from it.
So I would estimate that about half of our really good friends, maybe less than half, maybe a quarter of our really good friends are people that we've known since before we got together. And then maybe three quarters or maybe two-thirds of our really good friends at this point are friends that we've made after we've gotten together. And some of the places or avenues where we've met new people include the gym, so my people like that I've met through the food blogging world or even like through Instagram. Um, when we were following a vegan diet, we met people through like vegan groups. We have met other age gap couples, not so much in person, but online through you guys. And that's been great. I think finding other age gap couples is like a fantastic way to meet new friends.
And it seems like when we meet people that we get along with, they don't see us as an age gap couple.
Yeah,
They just see us as
as
Alan and
people.
Carrie.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they make no reference to the difference in age. It's just like, we are, two different people. We each have our own interests and we get along with the other couple. In fact, we were just on a walk this morning, and a really strange coincidence was we were in an exercise class for a number of years, and the lady in the class that was my age, we started chatting about where she lived before she moved to this area. And it turned out, make a long story short, that her husband was a guy that I went through school with all the way from kindergarten through high school graduation. And we met up again, reconnected after meeting his wife in this exercise class. On our walk this morning, we happened to bump into them. We haven't seen them for a while. And it was hugs and kisses, and they're crazy about Carrie. And, it's just, we're people, we're just another couple.
Yeah, actually, that brings up a point. In some cases, when I've met Alan's friends, they actually love the fact that I'm younger because it's almost like they appreciate that I bring like they appreciate that I have like a different perspective and that I'm bringing like that element of youth, I guess. I don't really think of myself as that young anymore, but I can understand that because I like meeting really cool people in their 20s because I like getting their perspective because they have such a different perspective of the world and they know like what's cool and I learn from them. So in a way, actually, I think age gap couples can be more interesting than your typical vanilla couples.
Do you know any cool seniors?
And then you interrupted me, but the other place we've met people are neighbors and then friends of friends. So those are just some ideas of where you might be able to find new people to be friends with. And then I thought we could maybe just talk some specific ideas about how to make new friends. And I mentioned this, but other age gap couples, I think, is a great place to start because then it's just not an issue. I mean, and then you have something in common to talk about. So that's why we started the Facebook group, is to try to connect people. And usually, when new people join the group, the private Facebook group that I run, I try to encourage people to share where they're from to try to, connect people because even though we can connect online virtually, it's always really fun when you can get together in person.
I would say a key part of making other age gap couple friends is to be alert. And if you see an age gap couple and you feel that there is an opportunity to become acquainted with them, then make an effort to somehow introduce yourself or find something that you
Yeah.
have in common. But again, you have to be alert and observe and see that they're there. We were having dinner when we visited family in Southern California about a month ago. And at the table next to us, there was an age gap couple and something happened on the table. They spilled something, and I commented, and we started to laugh about it. And they became very friendly with us, and may visit us when they come up to this part of California. So you can just be alert. There are opportunities to meet other age gap couples. It
And
is,
do say hi
well,
because
yeah.
we lived in this other place, community a few years ago, and there was an age gap couple, and we never said anything, and we haven't seen them in probably 5 years. And then we were walking down the street the other day, and I saw them, and
We
I
wish we would have gotten to know them.
yeah, I think it was a missed opportunity. The other tip that I came up with is that you consider other quote unquote unconventional couples. So we kind of talked about this, but other couples that have, that kind of break the mold of just a, man and woman, same age, blah, blah, blah. But, gay couples, couples without children, biracial couples, um, atheist couples, because in a sense these people, because they have broken the mold, they have already kind of shown that they have um
More tolerance.
yeah, like a little bit more of an open mind. And so I know it can be difficult, like if you live in a really um conservative community, but I have just found that, especially when we were vegan, we met some really interesting people and they were just so open minded and we were able to connect so easily. We're not vegan anymore, unfortunately, because it didn't work for us with our health, but it was nice because
It was a community. We had a commonality
and
with
the
them.
people were so interesting and very like smart and motivated. So that was a great place to meet new friends. I would also say just look outside of your main community, like where you live, and consider online, virtual communities, um, maybe other cities where maybe you're going to travel somewhere. You can try to connect with other age gap couples, or for whatever else that makes you unique, whatever hobbies you have or your religion or those kinds of things. Just try to expand your community outside of, where you live and try to meet people that way.
One thing we thought about, and I just thought I would bring it up here, is that when our age gap love story group grows, we thought about maybe having some sort of a conference or maybe seeing if people would be interested in a cruise where we would book a number of spots on a cruise and organize special activities during that cruise for a particular group.
Yeah, we mentioned it before, but nobody's commented on that.
No? Okay, well, give it some thought. And if that's something you would have an interest in, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I think people will be interested. It's just a lot to organize, but if you are interested and we get enough people saying they're interested, then it would be worth it to try to organize. I think that would be amazing. Um, if you are an introvert, actually, Alan and I are both introverts, and I would say try not to let your shyness or your introvertedness get in the way of meeting new people. Just kind of practice chatting with people. It doesn't have to be with the intention to become friends, but yeah, just try to become more comfortable, just chatting with your neighbors or, your waiter or whatever, to try to get more comfortable with introducing yourself and just meeting new people because that can be hard.
People don't bite. Well, some do.
Yeah, but if you practice, then you learn to, the social cues. I know we have some people in our age gap group where the younger partner is also from a different country. And so I think that can make it harder because you're trying to make new friends and you have maybe a language difference or a cultural difference in addition to being in an age gap relationship. And so you just have to practice. And I know it's hard, but if you push yourself out of your comfort zone, it will get easier. I think you should speed up a little bit. Um, and then I think you should also just kind of appreciate the fact that some people aren't comfortable with the whole age gap thing. So you can appreciate that, but you don't have to. Um, I mean, I don't know. I guess what I want to say is you can appreciate and be sensitive that people might be uncomfortable, but if you just be yourself and you be normal, I mean, if you just be like a fun, friendly person and you're with your partner and you're caring and sweet and show that you love each other, then that's going to put other people at ease, I
Yeah,
guess
but
is my
don't show
point.
that you love each other in public. People don't like that,
Well, I
especially
meant,
for age gap
no, I
relationships.
don't mean like you don't have to be like public displays of affection, but if you're kind to your partner and you show, I guess the point is that if you show that you're like, I just want to show people that age gap relationships are normal and we're just like essentially like every other couple. And so I think if you show that you just be yourself, then people will be more comfortable. And my feeling is that confidence is infectious. So if you're confident in yourself and your relationship, other people will pick up on that.
I agree.
And then my last point is also kind of along the same lines is that expression your vibe attract your tribe. So if you're
That's deep.
if you're fun and confident and interesting, then you are going to attract fun, confident, interesting people.
You're fun and interesting and confident.
So
Yeah.
that is that. I hope that this episode was helpful. If it was, let us know and please give us other ideas for topics because we really want to know what you're thinking about, what you're concerned about, and we'll do our best to try to address it and share our wisdom.
And we have a lot of wisdom.
So that's it, everybody. Have a nice rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.